everyone, Adam here, Set Wizard Podcast. Got another review for you today. Once again, huge thank you to Amazon Studios for sending these screeners along. This is a look at their new series coming July 1st, The Terminal List. I know I'm supposed to wait till the end to do this, but I'm loving this show. This is a 100% recommend across the board, but hang in there so we can talk in more depth about The Terminal List. The Terminal List is named after the first book in a series of books written by Jack Carr. Jack Carr is a former Navy SEAL, absolute badass, really cool guy. Recently, he did an interview on the Joe Rogan Experience where they talk a bit about this, a bit about his history and stuff. It's a really great in-depth look at who the guy is. And for a project like this, I feel like knowing who the guy is actually kind of important. There's a lot of movies and TV shows about our military that maybe go a little too action heavy or things just aren't believable, this or that, and they read as disingenuous. I mean, there's something like a John Wick, you want it to be awesome. You want it to be huge. You want it to be larger in life. You don't want John Wick to be too real of a person because then you don't get the insanity that franchise is. With something like The Terminal List, with something that's more grounded in reality, you do want that level of realism to it. But to take an actual Navy SEAL's experience, who then turned writer and is using that experience at least as jump-off points into his stories. This is not an autobiographical series. The lead character, James Reese, is not based on Jack Carr. It's just a guy who's been there and done it and knows the lingo and knows the terminology and knows the timelines and knows the structure, turning it into an interesting story, and then the story evolves further from there. At this point, we should probably talk about exactly what The Terminal List is about. The Terminal List follows James Reese, as I mentioned, who is played by Chris Pratt, who does an exceptional job. I mean, has Chris Pratt ever not done an exceptional job? And even given that, this is a standout performance by him. He's the leader of a Navy SEAL platoon, and they go on to this high-stakes mission they've been waiting for clearance on for a long time. It means a lot to everybody in the group. It means a lot to the country, to the organization. It's a very important mission. The whole thing goes sideways, and it looks like it doesn't just go sideways because, crap happens in the field. It looks like there's more of a reason for it. That's a big part of what the show is about, and as Reese is interviewed and questioned and has to talk to different officials and different people back home or that are still in the military. Constance Wu comes in as a very good, nosy reporter. A lot of pieces aren't quite lining up. And the show does this amazing dance. Don't worry, spoiler free. The show does this amazing dance as, is something wrong with Reese? Was something wrong with the mission? Is a little bit of both? Is he just not remembering right, or are things being manipulated? It's this amazing back and forth that I didn't see coming. I thought it was going to be more of a straight-up Navy SEAL show, and I was already excited for that. And then adding in these psychological elements, just the first episode I was hooked. If this was an 8-hour movie, I would have sat there for 8 straight hours and had to be using eye drops because I couldn't afford to blink because I didn't want to miss anything. Just absolutely incredible. This one I watched all the way through, and I will be watching it again as it aired. The screeners aren't always 100% the best quality. It still look good. We'll get into the technical aspects, but it's one that I really want to see in real 4K with real surround sound on the largest screen possible. It's as cinematic as a show can be, and it just really delivers. But I imagine everything militarily they do is as close to real as you can get in a dramatized series or an action series, because it is both an action and a drama, and there's some thriller elements too, where the mystery and things come like that in. But as far as the Navy SEAL talk, them working as a platoon, of course, Cat, as far as Reese kind of doing his own thing as he's trying to figure out exactly what's going on, it all rings real or real adjacent, so real enough that it never takes you out of it. It never feels like it's getting silly, and it never feels like too much. So, of course, I had to mention Chris Pratt. I can't stress enough how great he is in this series. And also stars Constance Wu, who comes in as a reporter, and she really plays her character to a T. I mean, really, there's not a weak link in the cast, the chain. But I also want to give a special shout out to Taylor Kitsch, who I don't think Kitsch gets enough work or gets enough credit. He was amazing in the Friday Night Lights series. He had a couple movies that did so-so. He had a couple that were flopped, a couple that I think were maligned unfairly. But I think he's a really good actor, and I really like him in his role as Ben Edwards, as kind of a friend or sounding board for James Reese in the series. I mentioned some of the technical aspects of the show. The only complaint I have with some of the technical aspects, and this could be because it's a screener, but I have a feeling that's just the way it was shot, is that it is a bit on the dark side. And that's not tonally, I'm being very literal right now. All the picture was literally very dark. Even scenes where Reese is kind of in the civilian world and maybe with his family, it always seems a little bit darker than it should, and it's probably a tone thing that they're going for, because even in those lighter moments where you can see a little bit of Chris Pratt's natural charm and not the down-to-business James Reese, even then it seems a little bit darker than it strictly needs to be. And this is such a nitpick in a show that is otherwise, I'm going to use the word flawless because I just loved it that much. So don't let that deter you from watching. It's just always kind of a surprise when you don't get the best picture possible in a world where you can have a 70-inch 4K TV in your living room and it's not unreasonably expensive. As far as the camera work goes, it feels like you're in the moment. It does a little bit of a handheld feel. It kind of never stops moving, but not in a headache-inducing Michael Bay kind of way, but just in this, on the more serious scenes, you're in and you're talking, and there's just a little bit of, you're not, it's not shaking the frame all the time, but you're in there and you're feeling it. On the action scenes, you feel the movement, you feel the adrenaline, you feel the action, and again, it's not making you dizzy, and it's not hiding the fact that they had no budget for this. This feels like the highest budgeted thing I have seen this year. They're not hiding a thing, it's just a stylistic choice, and I honestly think it works really well. The action scenes are fantastic. That's what I was talking about with military realism adjacent, where maybe there's some times where Reese is a bit more of a John Wick or James Bond or something like that, slightly, maybe a little bit more than he would, but also we're dealing with Navy SEALs. These guys are essentially real-life superheroes, so maybe it's 100% authentic. One thing, as far as the sound editing goes, it all sounded fine to me. I can't remember anything on the score that really stood out. They do some things with tone and nuance with some sequences that are supposed to be more psychological, more cerebral than just a straight up shoot 'em up. That stuff worked, but there was nothing on the score that I can really point to that really jumped out for me. But I'm not a very musically inclined person. I don't really listen to music. So unless a score is exceptional or exceptionally bad, I tend to not notice it. And also with the screeners, it's always compressed sound. It's generally just stereo. So it's hard to talk about the sound mix or this or that. There's a couple action scenes in like tunnels or corridors where I'm sure there's going to be bullets whizzing by and ricochet with even a home surround sound setup. So that's something I'm looking forward to in the actual watch of it. But as of now, just my initial impressions, my initial review as far as the screeners go, the sound is competent, it's effective, it's there. I can't say if it's exceptional yet, but I know it's not trash, because if it was, that would have came out even in a compressed stereo mix. Actually, it probably would have came out way more in a compressed stereo mix. Well, visually it's great, aside from being a little bit too dark. The action's great. The score is there. It's effective. It's solid. The sound effects, sound mixing are good. And the voices come through. That's something that drives me crazy, where you're turning it up and leaning close to your speakers to hear the voices, and then an action scene comes in and you blow out your tweeters and your eardrums, and you have to turn it way down, and then the next talking scene comes in and you miss half the dialogue. There's none of that going on. Put the show on, turn off the outside world, and just be immersed. I don't know how much of a hand Jack Carr had in the series as it was adapted from book to series, But based on the interview I heard with him and based on the quality of it, and Amazon seems to be doing things right as far as adapting these things, I imagine it's pretty close. I'm kind of curious to read the books now, but I want to see if there's more Terminalist show coming out, because I'd honestly rather be surprised by the show and then catch up with the books after. Being that this is an 8-episode series and it's a 5-book series on that end, I don't know if the Terminalist, the series, lines up exactly with the Terminalist, the book. I guess it's kind of neither here nor there because we're talking about the TV show, but it's always good when an adaptation is faithful. The Terminalist is coming out July 1st, this Friday as of this recording. Get on it. I can't recommend it enough. I absolutely loved it. This might be my favorite Amazon screener to date. Maybe aside from The Boys, but if you've been following our videos, if you've been following my reviews on these screeners, and your opinions agree with mine at least a little bit, this is one to check out. This is one to watch. It kind of has something for everybody. I'm actually pretty psyched for it to come out, even though I've already seen it, just to see it again with that last coat of polish on it. I'm pumped. Huge shout out to Amazon for sending this one our way. We will continue to bring you all of the coverage we can from them, and if they keep the quality up like this, it's a pleasure to do. Please make sure to like and subscribe. We have a lot more new movie reviews, Amazon coverage, series reviews, streaming reviews, theater reviews, comic reviews, unboxings. I just dropped some Galaxy's Edge footage. I got some more stuff from Disney World. I got the Wizarding World of Harry Potter coming. A lot of cool stuff coming your way. You're not going to want to miss out. Speaking of not wanting to miss out, make sure you listen to So Wizard Podcast every single week without fail, wherever you get your podcasts. So Wizard Podcast can also be found on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you get multiple monthly bonus shows, audio and video. SoWizardPodcast.com is your resource for reviews, recommendations, videos, merchandise, and more. Mark's always putting out really cool merchandise. It's sales a lot of the time, so make sure you check that out. We love hearing feedback, so drop something in the comments, leaving something on social media. Are you going to be watching The Terminalist? If not, what's wrong with you? When you do watch The Terminalist, on a scale of 1 to 10, was it a 9 or a 10 for you? Because it's going to be that good for you. I can all but guarantee it. Check it out July 1st. Thanks.